Well, the weekend has just begun for everyone. So today we're going to be doing three reviews. The first one is from back in December 2nd with ChocoPro. As you know, they pre-tape all their shows. This one was supposed to feature the Asian Dream Tag Team titles defended. However, Sayaka Obihiro was unable to do so due to an injury. So that match might have been postponed or whatever. But I can guarantee you it was going to be a good match for a warm-up for the Best Bros. Then we move on with NXT Deadline. We have two Iron Survival Challenger matches, features the women and the men. And of course, we have the NXT North American title defended, including, of course, the world title. But not to mention, we also got the steel cage match, and of course, the feud between Carmelo Hayes and Lexis King. So we're going to see what's going to happen. Then we move on with more of AEW Collision with continuation of the Blue League of the Continental Classic. We have two matches, Claudio Castagnoli versus Eddie Kingston, Andrade versus Daniel Garcia, and we have plenty other matches that also took place. And plus, we have some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, any wrestlers that have been signed or departed from any promotion. Of course, we have any injured wrestlers that have been announced, the whole enchilada. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things as pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to get our hands on. And of course, if we have some news updates that I've been unable to put on the episode, I'll do one by itself. And we also do other cool stuff as well, such as more news updates, but we put them on real time, the Unagi Sayakawa, and of course the special episodes. Then, of course, if you guys like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool stuff. Or if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment down below in the description. So let's begin with our very first review. This is from ChocoPro 343. If you guys might remember, the last time I made a mistake, it was 342, not 343, but now this one is 343. Opened up with Chika Shikawa opening the show, giving the lowdown of the matches and all this other stuff. Our first match, we have a three-way match. We have Masahiro Takanashi versus Trans Am Hiroshi and versus Goda Ihashi. Now Ihashi was the most heelish person in the match. Basically, you would have thought there was going to be a team up between Hiroshi and Takanashi. However, that kind of did, but however, it was a nice overthrow takedown by Trans Am onto Ihashi, and it picked up a good, fantastic win. Next up, interesting tag match. We have Nonoka Sato teaming up with her sister Miya Yotsuba, taking on Sayaka and Tokiko Kihara. Now, we know that Miya mentioned previously that there will be times where she may team up with her sister, and this is one of those days. However, they're not permanently teaming up completely, but they will team up. You probably would think that there was going to be a lot of good, interesting matches. I mean, Sayaka, we have seen her how much she has grown. Now, keep in mind, Mia has wrestled with Got to Move / ChocoPro for almost over a year now. As for her sister, less than that. However, we know Sayaka and Tokiko are part of the same generational talent, the fourth generation, with better experience than them, and that played out pretty well too. Until Tokiko applied a submission on Seto, it was done from there. Excuse me. Now, our main event, we have Gray Alien 2. He teams up in substitution for Sayaka over here with he got Ikurume to take on the Best Bros. Now, make sure it seems she's afraid of the alien for some odd reason. I mean, normally she never be afraid of anything, but this one. Even Bali and Aki tried to control her composure, but the match itself was amazing. It did show that even though there was Psycho was not still in it, it would have been a different scenario how this would have ended. But it was a big body splash by Balinaki onto who was it? Onto Alien Grade 2, and it was over right from there. Now for our Jonkin tournament, the Best Bros didn't make it through. Nope, it was Masahiro Takanashi. So he won the entirety of the tournament, and it was fair and square. I think that's pretty much it right now with this. I say let's move on with NXT Deadline. Okay, NXT Deadline. Now, of course, we were surprised with the opening with none other than HBK. Of course, we're all happy to see him doing his little promo, doing a little bit of the DX references. But out of nowhere, here comes CM Punk. I have to say, it's very interesting. And this is, of course, CM Punk's first time being in NXT. So the obvious question was, what was he doing there? Now, keep in mind, he was a free agent. He could be Raw, SmackDown, and possibly NXT. So I think that's one of the main reasons why he was there. So it looks like most likely he could probably be staying in NXT, which is kind of interesting. But we will see where that leads us in there because we have seen in the past a talent that went from the main roster to NXT. We already saw that with who? Oh yeah, Finn Balor. We saw that with recently with Baron Corbin. Even in the women's division, like Mandy Rose, that sort of thing. Now, our first match, the North American Championship. Dragon Lee along with Rey Mysterio to take on Dominic Mysterio. Now, of course, Dominic will be not distracted, but looking at his father to prove him why he's a deadbeat and he is in a better place. But however, Dragon Lee, who is determined. I think this is Dragon Lee's second time challenging for this belt. But the old saying goes, um, third time's the charm. So that's exactly what happened in this match. Basically, third time the match, and of course, Dominic Mysterio got pinned. No one expected that, and of course, I'm sure many of us are wondering, what does mommy have to think now that Dotton lost? Well, she's probably not going to be too happy, but I'm sure she's going to try to get a rematch. But there is no way that they're going to allow Dragon Lee to, how do I say this, lose the belt like that. But we'll see. Now, our next match is the Iron Survival Challenge match. Um, in the women's, we do have Fallon Henley and Blair Davenport started off. Every 5 minutes, a new one comes in. Our next one was Tiffany Strand, and then 5 minutes later, Kalani Jordan. Then finally, Last Legend. So there have been many. How do I say this? What really happened? Let me pull it up real quick on my notes on my phone. I have them right here. Okay. So this is how it goes. Davenport made the first pinfall, pinning Fallon Henley. That gives her 1 point. Then Fallon Henley did the same thing, but this time with Tiffany Stratton. So basically, it started out with 1-1. Then after that, Lash Legend pulled off a double pinfall on both Fallon Henley and Tiffany Stratton. So basically, that puts her 2 points ahead, which was a smart move from what I can see. And then finally, Blair Davenport pinned Kelani Jordan, giving her 2 points, so she was tied with Lash Legend. And then Blair Davenport, then Tiffany Stratton pinned Lash Legend, giving her finally her first point. However, later we did see Blair Davenport pin Fallon Henley, but however, Lash Legend knew that her how do I say this? That she has to tie with Lash Legend once the time ran out, and it did. So basically, Blair Davenport won. And of course, she is now targeting the NXT Women's title. But once it was that happened, we did see the, you know, the current women's champion, Lyra Valkyria, and all of a sudden we saw the return of Cora Jade out of nowhere, and then she's targeting, saying that this title is hers. But of course, Blair Davenport is not going to allow someone like her to try to take away what she has worked for to get to. So we'll see what happens from here on out. Now, our next match is, of course, the most interesting storyline, Lexis King versus Carmelo Hayes. Now, let's do a recap on the story on this match. Since Lexis King first appeared, there was a lot of talk about who was really responsible for the attack of Trick Williams. Well, Lexis King ran his mouth for the entire time, saying it was him. However, he decides to go off in this. So Carmelo Hayes, who refuses to let this one go, when the evidence showed, when Williams comes out celebrating that everything's okay, we see Lexis King. So that was the obvious thing. However, there was another video by Anonymous that the surface where you see Mello texting someone. Now, a lot of talk has been going around. Did Hayes had something to do with it, or what really is going on? However, of course, this match was definitely all about who is in the right in this one. But it was Hayes that put off the nothing but net on him. But at the post match, Lexis King confessed, saying that he had nothing to do with Trick Williams. So the obvious question is the evidence pointed at Hayes? That's the obvious question that we're asking, but we will find out soon enough. Now, our next match is the Men's Iron Survival Challenge. So this one we have Dijak versus Josh Briggs versus Tyler Bate versus Trick Williams versus Braun Breaker. So basically, we have a very interesting matchup here. Now, let's talk. Let's see who actually. This is going to be tricky because we have too many pinfalls. So I'm not going to go in details about the match, how it's going to go out, but I can tell you how the order went. First pin was Dijak on Josh Briggs, and then Josh Briggs onto Dijak, and then Tyler Bate pinned Dijak, and then Bate again with Trick Williams, and then Braun Breaker did 3 pinfalls in the same row, in lesser time, with Briggs, Bate, and Dijak, putting him ahead of 3 points. Then Bate catched up to 3 points as well when he pinned Dijak. Then Dijak did the same thing to Trick Williams, and then Josh Briggs did with Braun Breaker. But here's the fascinating part. It was Trick Williams who pulled it off completely with 4 points in a row with Briggs, Dijak, Tyler Bate, and Braun Breaker. So that's a very interesting storyline. Now we're seeing that there is the chance that we're seeing that Trick Williams will be getting the push. So I have to say that was a fantastic storyline, saying Trick Williams is now making his, time now, knowing that he has to reach the top just to be in the same level as Carmelo Hayes. So I think this tells a good storyline. Now, our next match, we have the Steel Cage, Roxanne Perez and Kiana James. Now, Kiana James has had enough of Roxanne Perez being on the top of the parade. So you can tell this was going to be a brutal match no matter what, but someone had to come out. And of course, when the cage door was open, we did see what's her name? James pick up a chair, but of course Roxanne was intending to use it. But however, she was intending to get out through the cage door. But all of a sudden, we saw Ixie Dame, who's been very supportive of Kiana James, and then boom, just like that, Kiana James applied the deal breaker with the chair on her, pinning her 1, 2, 3. So the obvious thing is now that Kiana James has finally put this to rest. Does that mean that she finally will make her way to the NXT Women's Title? Well, right now, as you know, Lyra Valkyria has a date with Blair Davenport, and I'm sure she'll get her hands on Cora Jade soon enough. So we'll see how that turns up. Now, our main event is, of course, the NXT title. Baron Corbin versus Ilya Dragunov. This match tells a very interesting story how Baron Corbin, who made his return to NXT to say all the NXT roster need to do is to shut the hell up and try to prove everything to what, like, he's tired of the whiners, the complainers. But he targeted Dragunov because, of course, Dragunov, as you know, his family are still in Germany. So that he puts it trying to make facts about that. But Dragunov, you know how he is. He has his own way how to deal with someone like Corbin. Of course, this past Tuesday we saw something like he may have got in his head in some capacity. So you probably would say, but it took a lot of H bombs to put Corbin down, and then finally the final touch, the torpedo Moscow, giving him the win. But as soon as the match was over, we saw his challenger for the NXT title. And these two guys know each other pretty well. Trick Williams, and behind him is Carmelo Hayes. So he is coming for him belt. Now, however, they may continue the storyline about who attacked Trick Williams. So the obvious thing is, will Dragunov play that part, saying that he shouldn't trust a guy like Mello? Well, we'll see about that until Tuesday. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the aftermath, and then we'll see from there. Right now, let's move on to our final review, AEW Collision. AEW Collision. It started out with the Continental Classic with Eddie Kingston and Claudio Castagnoli. Now, don't forget, these two men faced each other in a previous Ring of Honor pay-per-view. However, this is a must-win match for Kingston. As you know, he already lost his first two matches. So, um, you probably can guess, like, the old feud is still there, even though they put a squash in their little feud that they had. But however, one of them has to win. But one thing is, as you know, they put blow after blow, move after move in order to put each other away. Kingston or Claudia couldn't stay out of it, but it took only a reversal hurricanrana by Kingston to pick up the win, giving him his first win and first 3 points. So that means he is still alive. So we'll see what happens the next time. Now, let's see near Renee Paquette talk to Hook about his feud with Yuta, and of course, he's saying that they're wasting their time with Hook, but Hook knows too well that Wheeler Yuta is a cocky little bastard for what he did to Shibata, telling him I beat him in an honorable combat, but Hook knows too well it wasn't honorable for hitting him in the nuts. So basically, he wants the FTW in the FTW rules match. So Hook is kind of like asking him, "Are you sure that's what you want?" So we'll see where that goes. Next up, we have, of course, a very interesting feud: Willow Nightingale versus Mercedes Martinez. Now, these two have known each other for many times before, so basically, you can tell that there was going to be outside help from Diamante, who was by her side. But of course, you thought in this match, Mercedes Martinez had this match won, but somehow Willow Nightingale overturned it with an inside cradle, picking up the win. But of course, Mercedes, who did not take this loss lightly, and Diamante decided to help out her friend, decided to give her a beatdown. But luckily, the former TBS champion Chris Sandlander showed up. So this thing between both sides is far from over. Now, of course, since Collision was in Montreal, Menard and Angelo Parker welcome heroes. But of course, Hager throws a fit about Danhausen with his hat, all that. But we'll see where that goes out from there. So I'm kind of excited. But however, as you know, the whole love story with Ruby Soho continues on. So, of course, Saraya is not happy with how things have been going. But I thought it was just hilarious. Now, as you know, as you know, Warlow is on a warpath to hopefully to get his hands on MJF and a shot of the AEW World Title, but he has to contend with Willie Mack. Willie Mack wanted this match after what he did to his friend AR Fox, so you probably can tell that was what the story is all about. So, however, this match ended with a powerbomb symphony, but the ref made the call. It was over, so just like that. Now, our next match, Kenny Omega and Ethan Page. I have to say this was a pretty good match because, of course, Kenny can see, I can see why you want to reach the top. I'm the guy who's been there. So, you can tell that's how it's going to be. But, however, it showed a lot of conviction with Ethan Page in this match. But it was Kenny Omega who defeated him with the one-wing angel. But Page gained the respect of Kenny Omega. So I wouldn't be surprised that he would support him for where he's going to go. But as soon as Kenny was leaving, he was viciously attacked by Big Bill. As you know, Jericho and Kenny could get a shot of the tag team titles. First it's Jericho, now this. Ethan Page went up to check on him to see if he was okay. But I wouldn't be surprised that this tag match will come up soon. Now, as you know, CJ Perry was interviewed by Lex Luger to talk about Andrade. So basically, he's facing against a guy he has already faced. But of course, CJ Perry did put out his resume, the championships he won, third generation, the companies he's been with, the companies he traveled, the whole everything. But of course, Miro showed up out of the blue, feeling like all this and that. But he said that she will stay away not to put his hands on her client. So that's going to be interesting. Now, our next match, we have Commander versus Penta El Cero Miedo taking on Daddy Magic and Matt Menard. Now, I have to say, I've always been interested to see how this combination with Commander and Penta will be because, as you know, he's not Rey Fenix, but Commander is his own unique individual. And as for Parker and Daddy Magic, well, they are the hometown heroes in Montreal. So, of course, they're going to get a standing ovation no matter what. But the match was going to be awesome no matter what. But one thing that really, really struck me is the how they finished off this match. Commander was about to do a running shooting star press while Penta applied the fear factor. Just like that, it was over. I was impressed. I mean, I don't know what Phoenix would think of that, but I think he'd be proud knowing, well, at least this combination works too. So that's interesting. Now, our next match is the Continental Classic. We do have Bryan Danielson versus Andrade Dilo. You know these guys have faced off before, so you can say this is part 2 between them. And this match went all head on. I was impressed. But however, I know some of you may have noticed of course, the eye part of Danielson. So there was possibly concern over that. But it was Andrade with the hammerlock flatliner that finished off, giving him his points. So he's currently tied with Bryan Danielson. But however, I think many of us are questioning the concern over Bryan Danielson's eye injury. So that is something we will probably follow up. So we don't know if there's been any damage or it got worse, but we will see from here on out. So we know the Continental Classic is not over. We will continue with more this coming week. So I think that's it with the reviews. We have a small update, news updates for all of you. So let's get started right now. to our news update. So this is what we have, and this is very short. West Coast Pro, as announced for the Ill Matter show that takes place on the 27th of January in 2024, Vinny Masario, the final boss, will be making his appearance on this one. So I'm sure that this will be his return after being in Japan. As you know, Vinny has been in Japan helping out with Marvelous and appearing in Pro Wrestling Noah. Now, I did not see this coming, but I'm very happy to see it. TNA has announced for the Snake Eyes show on the 14th of January in 2024, we're going to have an interesting six-man tag match. We have the Motor City Machine Guns teaming up with the Rainmaker Okada. So that's going to be fun to watch. And then finally, but their opponents will be none other than Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, and Moose. So I'm looking forward to this match. Now, finally, I did not see Impact Wrestling with Final Resolution. However, the most surprising is the appearance of Trent Seven. Now, I found out what match was in, but what I found out later is that he is now signed with TNA. So basically, he will be making his TNA debut next year. So this is going to be interesting. I think many of us could say that TNA picked the right guy for the roster, and I think I can't wait to review this one. This is going to be interesting. I think this is pretty much it for all of our news updates, so let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. For our next one, I'm not sure yet because, of course, we have the finals of the World Tag League, so we will see who will walk out. Will it be Bushimon or God? I'm so excited for that. But as for the rest, I haven't decided what I'm going to do. I'm still behind on all Japan Pro Wrestling. I think I got 5 days worth of shows that I haven't seen and a few other things. So we'll see how that goes. But we'll go from there. I think that's pretty much it for everything. So I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.